Blog Talk Radio.
When you don't know, just go and ask for do-de-o-do. Ahura Z will journey with you to all the places on the go. What do we do when you don't know? Just go and ask for do-de-o-do. Ahura Z will journey with you to all the places others won't go.
You're listening to Ask the Unicorn, live with Ahura Z Deliza, answering all your paranormal, metaphysical, and spiritual questions. Call us now at 718-664-9638 to speak with Ahura, or post your questions via chat room on our show page. And now your host, Ahura Z.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Ahura Z. You're on the air with me, live on Ask the Unicorn. I hope you all had a wonderful week. My week was good. And I hope you are all ready for that once-a-year event that happens, Halloween. For some of you, that would be Samhain. I hope you're all ready for it, and I hope you have a good time. Just be safe. Make sure that you're checking all of the little goodies that your kids get or that you get, because I know that there are some adult trick-or-treaters out there. Make sure that the parties you go to are very, very responsible. Okay? Now, that being said, we are going to talk about exorcisms tonight. And I know that there are a lot of people that are very interested in this particular type of event. Just understand that not everything is warranting an exorcism. I know that there are a lot of people out there that have some delusions about an exorcism, thinking that just because they have some funny events in their life, or maybe they feel a little strange one day, that warrants an exorcism. It does not. And when you have to have an exorcism, that's something that's very, very specific. Now, there are entity removals, there are energy removals, there are energy displacements, there are uncrossing, spell breakings, all of these wards and all of these kinds of things. But when you're talking about an exorcism, you're actually speaking about something very, very serious. To have to exorcise something, that means it would mean that something is possessed or someone is possessed. Now, there's a difference between a possession and an obsession, or just someone that feels funny about things that are going on in their lives. And we'll talk about that a little later. But if you're interested in this, understand that some of the things that we talk about tonight may not be the most delicate things, but they are indeed important. Because remember, my general theme is how to protect yourself about these things and to have your questions answered about certain things. Now, what I'm going to do just for a moment is talk to you about a few things. One of the things that I'd like to talk to you all about is that I'll be doing a radio interview this Saturday, and this coming Saturday night, November 2nd, I'm going to be a featured guest on Outside the Box with Alex Ansari, and we will be discussing psychic self-defense and talking about what I do. Now, this is a live 2-hour show, and it starts at 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern Time. We'll be taking callers on the air, so tune in. I'd appreciate it if you all did. This is American Freedom Radio, and you can check them out at www.americanfreedomradio.com. That's a general announcement for you all, and I do hope that you'll tune in, because it's following a theme that there are a lot of people out there now, a lot of light workers that are trying to help you all get your questions answered and trying to help you all understand things and not leave you subject to a lot of the charlatans that there are out there that won't give you the proper answer or training. Now, as I said, tonight's topic that I'll be talking to you about is exorcism. However, any question that you have, I can answer, as long as it has to do with the spiritual, has to do with the mystical, the paranormal, and the metaphysical. Now, that can also be personal questions. I want to make that very, very clear. The only questions that I'm not willing to answer is whether or not someone's going to die or whether or not someone is cheating in a relationship. If there are some issues that you need to talk about or some things that you need help with, like you saw something and you need to understand what it is, I'll be more than happy to answer those types of questions. I'll be happy to help you navigate your way through dreams, help you understand the difference between what a crystal does and what a crystal doesn't do, the difference between a line in your hand that means that has to do with your head from your heart, etc., etc. I'll be able to answer all those questions. I am your answer person, and I take great joy in helping people reach the conclusions in their life that they need to reach. In other words, if there's a problem, my job is to give you the solution, and I will do that. Now, what I'm going to do at this particular time is open the floor to questions. We'll start off with a few. But for those of you that want to call in and actually speak to me live, you can do so, and I'll give you that number. That number is 718-664-9638. That's 718-664-9638. You can call, and I'll answer your questions live. For those of you that just like the idea of being on the radio, that could be fun too. Okay. Now, I'm going to go to Kazi here. By the way, my assistant is here. Kazi, why don't you say hello to the people?
Hello.
No. I told you to say hello to the people.
Hi.
Never mind. Anyway, so we're going to ask, what questions do I have tonight?
Well, tonight we have an exorcist question. And can anyone learn to become an exorcist?
No. Not everybody has the stomach for it. Not only that, it's not like a club. There are certain people that are gifted with the ability to do the exorcisms. I know that there are a lot of reality shows that show, they come up with these themes of people who call themselves exorcists, but understand that you're talking about a very serious art. And some people just don't have the fortitude to do so. That's not saying that, not everyone can learn to take care of themselves and protect themselves and their family. That's not what I mean. What I mean is you're speaking about a very specific art, and that is exorcism. Not everyone has the energy for such things. It's kind of like this. There are people in this world that really want to sing, but not everybody can sing. It's no insult. It doesn't mean that you're not as good or anything like that. It's speaking the fact. There are some people that believe that they can sing and sing horribly, because no one will come out and tell them, hey, look, perhaps I understand you enjoy singing and, you should, sing as much as you want, just you're not really a singer, but that's okay. Well, it's a little different in this way. When you're dealing with an exorcist has to have a firm resolve. There can't be any guesswork. You have to go through certain things. You have to learn certain things. You have to make sure that there is an exorcism that is warranted. And then you have to be able to perform, and many times under duress. Not everyone has that ability. There are people that have the ability to break spells, but they don't have any exorcism ability. I understand the word exorcism or exorcist comes off as kind of cool. That's great, but in truth, the job is not a cool job. It just is not. So no, not everyone has the ability to do that. And if you don't have the ability to do that, it's better that you don't pretend. Okay? Because then you have to call a person like myself, and I have to clean up a mess, and I really don't want to do that.
What exactly does an exorcism entail, then?
An exorcism, plain and simple, is to remove a malevolent energy or entity from someone. In other words, to get it out of them. Now, I'm sure you've heard many, many stories that, people never really succeed at that, or they do succeed at it, and it's very, very rare. That's because doing an exorcism is very, very rare. And I myself would choose not to do one. It's my job, however, and if it comes down to it, I have to do it, and I do it well. Understand that an obsession is a little different. There are people that are obsessed with things, and they just refuse to let it go. So it's not so much a matter of getting the entity out of them. It's more getting them out of the entity, because they kind of become addicted to their own obsession. So you have to convince them to let go. You know, I've had situations where I performed an exorcism on someone, but they decided to go ahead and go back into the environment that they were in for some unknown reason and then wonder why they got invaded again. My job is to get it out. It's your job to keep it out. Now, what that means is sometimes I have to like reach into your own body, your etheric or astral body, and rip something from your body, and it's not a pretty thing. There's nothing beautiful about it. You know, it's more like horrific, but I can deal with that. And if I don't pay attention and follow the rules, then I could become a victim as well, and I choose not to. However, once it's out, I give you a set of rules to follow. The rules are very simple, they're very precise, and I make sure that I give them to you along with several practices. From that point in time, it is up to you to take care of yourself. It's kind of like if you go in for surgery at a conventional hospital, the doctor gives you some rules. You've got to follow those rules. Unfortunately, most people don't, and they wind up in the hospital again. You follow your rules, follow the rules of the doctor, you have to follow the rules of the exorcist. You know, so if the exorcist tell you, listen, you have to make sure that this candle gets lit every night for 1 month. You have to do this every night for a month. You have to make sure this doesn't happen. Please don't go around these people anymore. At least for 1 month. You have to make sure that there is no talking to them. You have to make sure that you get rid of everything they've given you. You have to make sure that nothing brings you across the path of these people. If they come to you, do not open the door. If they call you, do not answer the phone. Yes, I mean emails too. Okay? That also includes texts. Okay? Or anything. Have nothing to do with this particular group. Make sure you are eating this. Do not eat that. Okay? Make sure that you are not playing with this thing. It is insidious and it is bad for you. I have to leave a whole list of rules. Okay? And it is up to the person to follow the rules. So an exorcist job is actually very little. We do very little. We just make sure that, you know, whatever has invaded you gets out. You have to make sure it stays out by following the simple rules.
All right. But how would someone know if they actually need an exorcism or if perhaps it's a different issue involved? Usually
you can tell. If you feel something coming along, or you feel as though you're being haunted, or you feel as though you're being pressured, or, you know, science likes to make very little of these particular things. There's a part of this particular cycle, and it's only the beginning cycle that science likes to call sleep paralysis, which I think is absolutely absurd. First off, in order for you to have sleep paralysis, you must be asleep. Second of all, the whole theory of what they're saying is purely hogwash. There are people that have reported not being able to move, not being able to open their eyes or scream, and they know that there's somebody there and they've actually seen a presence. Science chalks it up to imagination and chalks it up to, oh, it's just your consciousness is awake before your body is. What a load of hogwash, okay? And anybody who believes that has got to severely check their IQ. There are things in this world that happen that science has little understanding or shouldn't even be involved in. You know, what's that one saying that magic is just science undiscovered or something like that? What a crock. Science is something that came after magic and art. It's something that a group of people decided to do, and very admirable people. Remember, I don't hate scientists. Well, let's put it this way. If they're doing pure science, they've got my respect. But popular science these days, I have not much to say to those people that call themselves scientists that think that, you know, putting baking soda and detergent together to make it foam is a really scientific discovery. You know, I just can't deal with any of that. I also can't deal with people who call themselves skeptics and form a club called the Skeptic Society when there's no need for a club to battle against something you say you don't believe in. It makes no sense. However, I'm ranting again. I apologize for that. But you're talking about exorcism, and you're talking about knowing when there is a need for an exorcist. Now, if you've done something to warrant an entity being attracted to you, and that many times I'll tell you some of the ways that you can. Messing with a Ouija board is one way. Messing with other things to get in touch with spirits when you don't have any business doing that is another way. Even dealing with things such as certain crystals and trying to do seances and things like that. That's like holding up a giant flag saying, hey, come get me. Those that decide that they wanted to get totally wasted on drugs and for no ceremonial reason or no ceremonial purpose, because I know that there are some cultures that do use what we like to call drugs for their ceremonial purposes. I have nothing to say about that. That's none of my business. However, when you lose your consciousness, remember there's always something else out there that is waiting to take over your consciousness, or take over your body at least. Doing this whole astral travel thing and listening to people say how great astral travel is, they've got to be out of their minds, purely and simply. I mean, the astral realm will lure you out into it and make you believe that the waters are safe to go into, and then following something, you'll go into the deep end, and you're not prepared for that. You're just not prepared for that. The astral realm is something that we human beings that are in a physical dimension, that live in the precedent of a physical dimension, don't belong in. We're not supposed to be there. So when you go into that astral realm, you're drawing a map to your body, and there's some pretty tricky things out there. You come back, and all of a sudden you're experiencing what people call multiple personality disorder, and things like that, schizophrenia, or you're experiencing anomalies in your body and in your mind that you never had before, but it came only after doing what you did. That means that something's up. That means that you need to talk to somebody who is an expert on these things.
Right.
And
what then would the process be? So say somebody contacts you and says, hey, I think I need an exorcism. Can you help me out? What would you do? I
test to see whether or not they actually needed an exorcism. Sometimes they just need to lay off of the Skittles. Sometimes they just need to lay off of the booze or the drugs. Sometimes they just need to relax a little bit. Maybe there's a physical medical problem going on with them. I have to determine all this. Maybe they're mad at their wife. Maybe they're under emotional duress. Maybe they have all kinds of problems and troubles, and it's causing them to think outside of their normal thinking realm. You have to test all of these things before you start jumping up into the spiritual and saying, oh, yeah, you need an exorcism. That's kind of ridiculous, actually.
Would the person know that they need the exorcism?
Listen, nobody knows if you need an exorcism without the help of someone, okay? The bottom line is this. I will check every single avenue before I even consider whether or not you need an exorcist or whether or not you need an exorcism. You may need someone to sit you down and talk cold, hard common sense to you. You may just need an ear to get you over your emotional trauma. You may need to understand that, listen, there are things that you can do about this. And once we get your feet on the ground and I can determine that, yes, your feet are on the ground, then we will begin to look into the spiritual realm. If I detect something there, I will also determine whether or not it can be handled quickly or whether or not it can be handled over a process of time. That's the job of an exorcist. The job of an exorcist is not to look at you and say, you're possessed. You know, that's not what we do. You know, I don't take every case of, oh, yes, you're possessed. That's silly. I mean, I'm not going to look at you and determine whether or not you, because remember, you're dealing with something that could be centuries and centuries old, could have been around for thousands of years. Don't you think that in that particular time they might develop an intelligence that would enable them to hide in some unknown corner of your body or mind? We have to take all of that into consideration. Now, Catholicism has some pretty good rules to that. You know, they have some very strict rules to that. But I also think that it makes them ineffectual because they don't want to do it, you know. But if they do want to do it, perform an exorcism, that's up to them, and you'll have to wait for them. I, on the other hand, am not weighed down by such politics. If a person actually needs help, I will help them immediately. Now, that person has to know that there are certain things in their lives that are going wrong, and little by little, that person will learn that they are losing control. until a point that they feel helpless. There's nothing that they can do. Usually about that time, just before there's a warning sign that brings you in to see me or see someone like me. And there's some very good people. And in the event that you have lost control, there's usually someone that Providence itself will bring around you to say, hey, I think this person needs help. And I don't think they're capable of asking. Like, I had one woman that told me, she says, and she got upset with me, which is understandable, I guess. She says, she's talking to me, and she says, I'm possessed. And I said, no, you're not. I said, if you were possessed, sweetheart, you wouldn't be the one telling me that you were possessed. And she says, well, I don't think so, and she got mad. I could care less about what she got mad at. When a person comes to see me, they need help. I don't help them their way. I help them the right way. And if they insist on being helped their way, I usually ask them, so you want to be helped your way, and you've been doing it your way all this time. How's that working for you? And if it doesn't work for you, then obviously there's a better way, right? You came to me for help. So a person usually knows by what is happening in their life that something is going on. And when it gets really bad, they usually get the opportunity to do something about it. But remember, there are people, when they get into the obsession, which is just before possession, they will become addicted to this entity. I had one woman that just could not resist going back into hell. She just wouldn't resist at all. And I tell her all the time, listen, you have to stay away from these people. And then I find out she was talking to the people, and still cavorting with them. So there wasn't much I could do about that. I'll run into hell with you and run into hell to drag you out once, maybe even twice, but the third time you are on your own. And if I get told by the universe, listen, go help them one more time and they'll get it, I'll do that. However, understand that every time that I have to go back in there, it's a danger to even myself. So I'd kind of rather not. Okay, I'm going to break this up just a little bit before I have more questions. And what I'm going to do is play a song for you all right now. And I have one person, a little sister of mine, that really loves this song. That would be Shelly Nunchucks, that has her own radio show, and I urge you all to check into her radio show as well. This particular song is done by Pisces Projekt. It is called Battle Song. Yes, that was Pisces Projekt, and that particular song is called Battle Song. I hope you all liked it. For those of you that actually do like the music, if you really like it, the music that you're hearing on the show, all of these tracks are available for download from our record label website, Unicorn One Records. That would be, if you all have a pen and paper, I'll give you a moment to just get one. Okay, that's long enough. That would be www.unicornonerecords.com. Okay, and that particular track is Battle Song. That would be number one. I do urge you all to check out the music. There's a lot of music that we have done, Pisces Projekt. There's also music done by myself, Ahura Z, Master Zichi, and I think that you will all enjoy the music. It doesn't cost much, and it helps our cause. Also, if in the case that you would like to make a donation, and we do urge you to do so, if you like what you've heard so far in Ask the Unicorn, please consider making the small donation so that we keep the show running. Donations go towards paying our monthly airtime fees so that I can get on the air every week and answer your questions. Now, the donation can be made using the donations button on the front page of our Ask the Unicorn website. Now, that would be at www.asktheunicorn.com, and all contributions will be greatly, greatly appreciated. Now, we know that Halloween is coming tomorrow. For all of you people out there that are going to your parties, I'll say this again. Make sure that the parties that you're going to are safe. If you know that there's going to be trouble at the parties, don't cast your cautiousness aside and go. I know that a lot of people do that. Well, it'll be all right. Listen, you don't know that it's going to be all right. Just use some common sense. If you know that it's not going to be a great scene, why even go? And for all you people that want to sit at home and not open your doors to the tons of children that will be out asking for candy, I would beg you to reconsider. If you're home, open the door, give the kids some candy. I mean, they have so little these days. I mean, so little joy, where we live, or not where we live now, but in Westbrook, they used to have a Main Street Halloween event where there were tons of children that would come out just to get candy, and I hope that they do that this year here in Standish where we are, and I will make sure that they have a good time. You all should make sure they have a good time too. Remember, this is for the kids, and it should be for us as well. I think that we get a lot of joy out of, helping the kids understand that there are still some safe places in this world. Now, back to our questions. Listen, if you want to call in and ask some questions, I would very much appreciate it. I get emails from people asking, well, do you need more questions? Or if you want to ask a question, you're not sure if you're calling too much, there is no such thing as too much. The number is 718-664-9638. That's 718-664-9638. We will be accepting calls. And I'm going to move to our next question. What do you got for me, Kazi?
Are exorcisms really like they portray them in the movies, with speaking in tongues, different voices, violent behavior, etc.? And have you ever performed an exorcism like that?
Okay. I have not heard anyone speaking in tongues, during an exorcism. I haven't had anyone spit pea soup on me either, because that would probably piss me off. But I can tell you that I've seen some pretty phenomenal things. Violent behavior is part and parcel of the job. Sometimes when you apply the holy water, or you're saying certain prayers, or use a certain object, it tends to not feel very good to the entity that may be involved. But head spinning, I haven't seen that one yet. I have seen a belly extend to enormous proportions on a very petite person. I have heard the voice change. I have seen the person just go red with anger and try to lash out at me, and I've had to subdue them. I do my best to make sure that the person is very safe, make sure that the environment is very safe, and I never go into a situation like that alone. And for those of you that think that you are some mighty exorcist and you want to go into a situation alone, I wholeheartedly ask you don't do that, because you may need some assistance. If there is an actual demon or an entity that is as powerful as a demon, remember, to a degree, they can bend some physical rules, and you don't want yourself to be part of that physical rule that they bent. Okay, so you might go in with some assistance. Just make sure that the assistance does not have emotional reactions, which brings me to a lot of the reality shows. Okay, the most ridiculous thing that I've seen is someone running from a ghost, or calling an entity out and then running, or getting mad at it because it doesn't show up, or things like that. There are certain things that you just don't do. You don't call an entity out. What happens if it shows up? Okay? I mean, what happens if all of a sudden you get subdued by this entity because you called it out? To call something out like that puts you on an uneven ground. It makes you vulnerable. You really don't want something to show up. Remember, those of you that are budding investigators and those of you that call yourself ghost hunters, even though you really don't have to hunt for ghosts, they're all over the place, but those of you that call yourself, going and calling something out, come on out, big bad ghost, like that stupid show with the guy who had the Astro Boy haircut, that says, come on out, Mr. Big Bad Ghost. Yeah, that's absurd. What are you doing? That has nothing to do with the reality of things. The reality is this. You're hoping that something isn't haunted. If you're an investigator, your job is not to go there to call anything out. Your job is simply to go there to determine whether or not there is something there. And once you have determined whether or not something is there, understanding that you are not equipped to handle what is there, you should call in somebody like myself or another person that you know can handle the job. Being a hero when you don't have the heroic thing on the inside of you is dangerous, because you create a big mess, and then someone like me has to go and clean up your mess, and I'm not happy with it. And nor is any other good exorcist. So stay within your bounds. If you're an investigate. Validate. Find out if something is actually there. But do a good job at it. And then walk away. Contact the next step. You can stay there to observe, but nobody should have an emotional reaction at all. And listen, for those of you, you brave women that take on this particular job, I need to caution you. If you're pregnant, you need to stay far away from a situation that is like that. Seriously. Or if you're on your monthly, you need to stay far away from any situation that has to do with exorcism. Are we clear? And no, I am not a chauvinist, and I don't care what you think about it. The rule is the rule. You can't help anybody. You will subject them to danger. I have had to oust more pregnant women than I even cared to. The whole idea is for you to protect your child. Now, stay out of danger. Okay? And don't go being brave, saying, well, I'm going on this investigation even though I'm pregnant. That's ridiculous. Stay out of it. Okay? There are things that can get into your body that you just don't get. Now, that's not to make you scared. That's to make you cautious and use some kind of common sense. Okay? Now, excuse me from time to time. I do have a habit of ranting about certain things because these reality shows are stupid. They're absolutely stupid. There's one that is in England where this woman just does nothing but scream. She screams for everything. No one on my team would have such a reaction. If they did, I would never take them on an investigation again. There should be no emotion. You leave your emotion at home. You should be like Mr. Spock. And even better than Mr. Spock. If you're going to go exercise or you're going to get rid of a negative entity, then you should be prepared, understanding that negative energy was already there. Don't run from anything. If you know that you're going to run, best you not go in. And, the whole thing with movies, that you all see is the funniest thing because it makes no sense. If you're running from a ghost that can materialize anywhere, how does that make sense? Run, get out. And for those of you that don't know, I'm speaking specifically to you, Taps. Your shows are ridiculous, and I don't care what anybody thinks of them. My job is as a psychic policeman. I do the right things. I don't run from something. It makes no sense to. If I know that I can't handle it, if I know that, and if I thought about it before I go in, I would know whether or not I could. Then I take a team. And my team are like rocks. There is no shakiness. There is no trepidation. There is no unsurety. There is no running away from anything. So sometimes it's best that you leave the camera outside. Because pointing towards the camera guy and asking if he saw something that was behind him is ridiculous. Okay, now I'm going to get back to some questions here. What do you have for me?
Wow. Yeah. How did you become an exorcist? Did someone ordain you?
Well, that's kind of... my official title is Reverend Ahura Z. I'm not going to go into detail over that. When you're talking about did someone ordain me as an exorcist, no physical person ordained me as an exorcist. I was ordained by God by having the ability to remove entities. That's part of my job. And as a reverend, I let that ordination speak for me. And I've always done this since I was a child. I was able to do this. I could see things that other people could not, and I understood them. And I decided that I didn't like the fact that people were being made uncomfortable or being scared by such things. Being scared by things that they couldn't see. Most people can fight almost anything that they can see. But when you can't see it, it makes you feel alone. It makes you feel isolated. It makes you feel as though no one can understand you. And I don't think that's fair at all. I think at that particular point, these entities become bullies. And I don't like bullies, and maybe I have my own problems with bullies because growing up, I was a runt. I could see a lot, and I was very smart, and I'm very strong, but, kind of tiny. And I made my decision probably back then that I wanted to be most like Jesus. I figured that nothing could hurt Jesus, so if I was like him, nothing could hurt me. I don't have any delusions about things in this physical life. However, Jesus fought demons. And how could I say that I wanted to be like him if I did not? So I do what he does, or did, or does, however you want to look at it. So that answers both of your questions. What do you got next? How
do you keep yourself from being harmed during exorcism? Is it possible for something to get into you when it is leaving the other person?
Not if I'm paying attention. That's the whole thing. I pay attention. And I do those things that are necessary for myself. Not to say that I walk away clean all the time, but I make sure that I do purify myself. I have certain protective ways, protective ceremonies that I do. And I do them on a daily basis, understanding that my job puts me in danger all the time, whether I'm on it or not. So there are certain things that I do daily. So that's how I protect myself. It's always possible for something to happen, but if I'm paying attention, it becomes less possible. Next question.
All right, this one is from Chris Brown. Z, I was wondering what prompts Lucifer or other dark people / things to possess someone.
Chris, that's an interesting question, but I have to answer it this way. I don't pretend to know the mind of Satan or Lucifer. I don't pretend to know the minds of these entities or these demons. My job isn't to deal with their minds. I don't negotiate with them, so I really don't care to talk to them. I deal with them as they come. If they're doing evil, then that means that I have to get rid of them to the best of my ability. So that doesn't even matter to me. Sometimes it matters in this way that the person did something to cause it. Okay, they did something to invite it or to cause it, and a lot of times they do so willingly, which is strange. But look at the people that may be around you. There are people who are willing to do evil simply for evil's sake. There are also people who are willing to do evil because they believe in their minds that they can get away with it, or they believe in their minds that, well, maybe I'm doing good, it's not that evil. For instance, there was slavery. That had to be one of the most evil things ever thought of, ever. Then there's discrimination of any kind. Well, I don't want to say discrimination. What's the word? Bigotry. Bigotry of any kind. Racism, sexism, I don't care. They're all evil. And there are people who are perfectly willing to do it and then justify their reasons for doing it. Under some political regime or under some other delusion that they happen to be on. We've even our whole political system is based upon racism and segregation. You've got the separatism of all things like Democrats, Republicans, independents. Oh, stupid. Basically, if we can come together as one nation, there wouldn't be any of that things. We get rid of all of the problems. So the only thing I can tell you is that you really don't want to have a talk with them. What you want to do is make sure that you're not doing evil. It doesn't matter why someone else did it. It matters whether or not you do it. And I know that you're a good lad, and I hope you continue to being a good lad. Okay? So, what do you got next?
If you go into a place where it has bad energy, how can you keep yourself safe so that the negative energy doesn't attach itself to you? For example, entering the home of an abusive/manipulative person if you have no choice. And is it possible to keep someone else safe in that environment when you're not there like a child? Okay,
you're saying entering into the home of someone who is a manipulative and abusive if you have no choice. That's ridiculous. You always have a choice. Okay? You always have a choice. No matter what, you have a choice. It's whether or not you want to stand behind that choice. Okay? If you're saying that someone is binding and gagging you and dragging you into the house by your hair, that's different. But that's usually not the case. You've done something to enable yourself. I don't go into places that I know are negative or evil. If I have to go in to help someone get that negativity and evil out of their house, I determine whether or not it's worth it. Usually it is, because someone in the home does need help. However, if that person decided to bring that evil and negativity on themselves, then I have to explain it to them and make them be willing to give up that negativity and evil. But don't say you don't have a choice. You do have a choice. I don't care if you're in a relationship. I don't care if it's family. I don't care what. You do have a choice. If you are an adult, you have a choice. Now, if you're a child, that's something else. In that particular case, then you have to get some training from somewhere where someone will be willing to train you to take care of yourself. Also, say some prayers and glean what you can glean. If you're asking me this question on this particular show, that I have to assume that you're responsible for yourself to a degree. Be responsible. Most people are just not willing to give up what they think they have and then complaining about it. You have a choice. If you make the choice to stay in a situation, you've got nothing to say about it. Decide not to stay in that situation. That is your best bet. Take your chances. If you leave with nothing but the skin on your back and the clothes on your back, but you have your freedom, it will make it worth it for you. You can start over. For those of you that may be handicapped, you'll have to take another precaution. Let someone know that you need help. But if you're a body able and you're mentally able, get out. That is the best solution for you. Okay, what do you got next?
Are there things you can wear, like certain stones or symbols that can be used to ward against possession?
There are certain things. There are certain things that will ward off. Understanding that they're not walking around looking to possess you, okay? So don't go getting over paranoid or anything like that. What I'm telling you is that if you're in a situation that you feel that could be a chance, make the choice to get out of the situation. Or there are some things, one of my favorite stones is garnet, and another one is fluorite. They help things, they keep things from sticking to you. Garnet has always been a very protective stone. There are some other stones that people who have some knowledge can use. You can't just put on a stone and hope that it's going to do its job. You know, it's like pointing a cross at the devil, you know. That the cross really doesn't do anything. I mean, not unless there's faith to back it up, you know, and you have to have that proper faith. But there are some symbols that, these are called sigils, actually, that have some effectiveness, but in order for them to have effectiveness, you have to learn what they mean. You have to understand what they do. And then you have to be willing to use them correctly. And correctly means you won't put yourself in danger just to try to test the power. Okay? And a lot of people do that. It's ridiculous, but that's not something that you should do. So yeah, there are certain stones. If you want to learn about these particular things, I do teach classes. Okay, next.
Let's see. This one is from our listener in our chat room, Arlisha Valentine, and she asked, can you tell me what happens when we don't take an early exit, like death? Also, why am I always drawing negative, mean-spirited people in the areas of love and work?
Okay, Arlisha, I'm going to answer this question for you. If you're talking about an early exit, no, you're supposed to take the exit that is meant for you. Okay, there's no such thing as an early exit unless something bad happens. Hopefully, you don't think that way. You're meant to live. You're supposed to live. And you live until you don't. You know, the Reaper does his job, but you don't have to help him. And as far as why you attract negativity in the areas of love, it's not that you attract it, is that you accept it. Okay? You got to learn how not to accept negativity. When you're looking for love, especially in relationships, a lot of people get a little desperate and they let their friends talk them into all manner of atrocity. The friends will tell you things like, oh, you've got to lower your standards, or, oh, it's okay, I'll hook you up with my friend. And no, he's a really nice guy, or he's a really nice girl, you know, and then you let the guy that's on the commercials talk you into stuff. Hey, you should try relationship.com. And, you know, I'm sure that there are some relationships that work out over the internet. That's great. You know, I'm not damning them or anything like that. I'm just saying that it's far better when you meet a person and you talk to that person. You can talk to them on the internet if you want to, but at some point in time there has to be a meeting that has absolutely nothing to do with going to bed with each other. You have to think about whether or not you're not just attracting, because remember, flies are always attracted to light. You know, and that just happens. You know, there are a lot of different sayings that I could give to you, but the bottom line is this, is that I don't think that you attract negativity any more than anyone else. It's just that you accept it more. You allow it. You enable it. You let people do what they're going to do to you without fighting back, and that's what happens. You know, and I think it's really funny. There are a lot of young women out there that will tell me about their horrible boyfriends and their horrible relationship and their horrible this and their horrible that. Well, why don't you go get someone new? Why don't you just, you know, why not just leave or get out of it? You know, well, I don't want to hurt his feelings. Okay, now you're being stupid. Okay, and same for you guys. You guys really find some doozies, and you know most guys we take things by how it looks, and we take things by what is said to us. But you know, there is no reason for anyone to stay in a relationship they don't want to be in. There just is no reason. you guys meet each other and you like each other, and then all of a sudden you find out what the person is really like, and then you don't like him anymore, and then you tell yourself that you're trapped in a relationship. You're not trapped in anything. It's what you are willing to accept. If you say that you're willing to accept something, don't complain. But if you're not willing to accept something, be real about it. Okay? Just be real about it. Yeah, it'll hurt for a minute. Stuff hurts. And then you get over it. You go do the things that you need to do in your life, And hopefully that person does too. I mean, even myself, I've been divorced, and we just didn't mix. I don't have anything bad to say about the person, except for this person was incredibly, incredibly normal. I am not. Okay? And we just didn't mix. And I wasn't going to stay in something like that. I mean, why stay in something that was making me miserable? So we both decided that, we were too different. And that's fine. Years later, the person called, and I said, unfortunately and fortunately, we did not work. All this stuff about, well, you have to work at a relationship. What a load of bull. My relationship that I have, my marriage is not hard. There's nothing hard about it. I don't have to bring out the hard work outfit in order to deal with the woman that I'm with. That's ridiculous. There are certain things that I accept, and there are certain things that I don't accept. And I'm quite clear about it. You need to be quite clear about it too. Once you do that, you'll find that the negativity will leave, and you won't be putting up with it anymore. That will adjust you into a whole new level. Okay, we're going to, I hope that answers your question, Alicia. Thank you for asking. We're going to take a short break right now, and we will be back momentarily. I'm Ahura Z, and you're on the air live with me.
You're listening to Ask the Unicorn, live with Ahura Z DeLiza, answering all your paranormal, metaphysical, and spiritual questions. Call us now at 718-664-9638 to speak with Ahura, or post your questions via chat room on our live show page at www.asktheunicorn.com. If you have an issue that you would like to discuss with Ahura in more detail, he offers telepathic readings and telepathic spiritual counseling sessions by phone and Skype. Ahura also teaches private classes in an array of subjects online using Skype video. For more information on classes and services with Ahura, please visit Unicorn Cove School of Metaphysics online at www.unicorn-cove.com. And now back to Ask the Unicorn.
All right, we're back. That was Pisces Projekt doing Last Man Standing. Now, remember, if you really like this music and you want to download it, you can find this music and other pieces done by Pisces Projekt, Ahura Z, that would be me, and Master Z-Chi, at www.unicorn1records.com, and you can download them. Now, I have some phone calls that are here today, and remember, we've been talking about exorcism. The next person that I'll be introducing, here, this is Aman, who is one of my students, and he's one of my chief exorcists that I have trained. And he's been training with me, 4 years?
Longer.
4 or 5 years now. And he's very proficient at his job. So I'm going to bring Aman in so he can give you his point of view on some things. Hey, Aman.
Oh, hey guys.
How are you?
Sorry about my scratchy throat. I just had a little bit of an operation. But, so one thing I thought would be interesting for you to touch on, Z, is, there are a lot of different rituals or methods to do exorcism, and I was wondering, what role does the original language it was spoken in play, if any? Does it increase its power? Does it depend? Maybe you could touch on that a little bit.
Well, I can. As a matter of fact, there is no original language that it was spoken in. Remember that every different culture has its own type of exorcism. Remember, there's so many different languages that have been spoken on this earth forever. I would like to find out if there actually is a original language that we all spoke at the same time, but I doubt that highly. There are those that think that learning an exorcism in Latin is very powerful, and I tend to agree. But then you can learn in Italian, you can learn in Spanish, you can learn in any different language, German, African, or Swahili, or any other type of language. Remember, there's also the native languages that are here in America that you can learn, and they're all powerful depending upon the person that is doing them, and the person's faith that is doing them, and the knowledge of the person that is doing them as well.
Right.
So there's no real original language except for perhaps the angelic script, and we'll have to go back, and then that takes a long time to really explain. There's also Enochianism and Kabbalism, and then you can go to the Hebrew languages, and they have their own types of exorcisms, but all of them are very specific. Remember, we're dealing in the area of exorcism, which says that we have to go through a litany of things to determine whether or not there is an actual need for an exorcism. And if you speak English, your most powerful voice is going to be in English. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So you can learn another language, but saying something in English doesn't make it less powerful than saying something in Latin. I like Latin personally, only because it really tends to resonate with myself. But listen, my most powerful language that I could possibly speak is in English, unless the Spirit takes over and makes me speak something totally different. At that particular point, then I can't even tell you what language that is. I can only tell you that that's between God and myself.
Right.
So that's a good point. And I think that it would behoove everyone, not just students of exorcism, but everyone, even just a layman, to learn about things such as exorcism, or to learn about what types of entities that there are out there. That way you're well educated, and education is half of the battle. Once you are aware of certain things, you know how to ward against certain things. I mean, there's a reason even for a person that deals with too much alcohol in their lives can be subject to certain things like that. I mean, if they lose their senses, that is. I'm not talking about people who take a drink, because even Jesus himself drank wine, or drank whatever Jesus drank. And I would be the absolute last person in creation to try to judge Jesus, So, it comes down to a very simple point, is that you do things that show common sense. You do those things that are going to keep you in your head. And if your strongest language is English, then you use English. However, if your strongest language is another language, then you use that language. I mean, that's where you're going to resonate the power. And all of us do have some power.
Well, that was my only question, Z. Thanks for taking the time to do this for all of us.
Oh, no problem, man. Hey, you take care of yourself, and I'll talk to you soon. All right? And
Okay,
I'm gonna tell them a little bit of your story as well. Thanks a lot, Amon.
Yep.
Okay, that was Amon, and he himself does exorcism. He's quite proficient at it. He is learning the temperament of an exorcist, and he just recently went through a surgery, and we spoke about it, and he had quite the experience. I'll talk about I'll talk about that next week, but he did have an out-of-body experience while he was in the surgery, and it was a very beautiful experience, but at the same time it was a very learning experience because he learned that you don't do certain things. And he's the wiser for it, and I'm very pleased with that. He's one of my best students, and I'm very proud of him. Okay, now we're going to open the floor for another caller, and this is Elise. Her question may not have to do with exorcism, but, she always has very good questions, so I'm going to bring her in. Okay, Elise, how are you? Hello.
I'm doing better. How are you doing?
I'm doing just fine.
You sound great.
Thanks.
Okay, my question is, sometimes there's little things that come into our apartment and they fly around, and they look just like fairies, and my cats chase them, like under the furniture, and then they just disappear, and I'm wondering, what are those?
Your cat chases them?
Yeah, my cats chase them.
Oh, interesting.
I've seen like green ones and yellow ones and blue ones, and they look sparkly, and they have like butterfly wings, and they're all one color, like their clothes are all yellow, and they have butterfly wings, and they're very small. They're like about an inch or 2 inches high and like an inch wide. They look just like fairies, and my cats can see them and chase them around.
Well,
and I was wondering, what are those things?
Well, there's no telling. They might be elementals. Then again, they might just be energies that show themselves in a way that you can comprehend. But remember, we've spoken about the things that you see before. You've always been very visual. And we do know that animals have a heightened sense to begin with. So it shouldn't surprise you. It shouldn't surprise you at what you see. You're very visionary. And that's one of the things that we have spoken about quite often. So they could be, if people want to call them fairies, that's fine. There have been other accountings of people seeing the same thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So they could just be an elemental force. They could just be energy that took that particular shape. Remember, energy is living. It's not just dead. We humans have a limited view of what energy actually is. Everything on this earth that can support life is alive, remembering that only life can support life. So we have to take all of that into consideration.
Oh, okay.
So that could be it.
I have another question. Sometimes there's this man that lives down the block, and he has like just a really negative attitude. He talks negatively about things, and once in a while when he walks past our window, things fly through our window that look sort of like black, thick butterflies, but they're not butterflies. They're probably demons or something. I just wonder, is there a way to block it?
Well, they're not demons. It's just the energy that he might be projecting, and you see it as butterflies. But there's a way to block it. You just do your prayers like I've told you to. Or you take the holy water that you get and just take a little bit of it and put it around your windowsill. It'll keep things out.
Oh, okay. That sounds good.
Yeah, that's how you do that. But don't worry. If you know that this person is negative, just kind of stay away from them, That's going to be your best method.
Yeah. When I see him coming, I just walk the other way.
Or just keep walking where you're walking and just ignore him.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, because you don't want to be cowardly either.
Oh, okay, I understand.
Okay. All right. Thank you for calling in, sweetheart.
Okay, thanks for talking. Have a good evening.
You too.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye. That was Elise. I like when she calls in. Okay, we have another caller. That'll be Amy. Okay, Amy, how you doing?
I'm good.
Good.
How are you?
What can I do for you? I'm just fine. What can I do for you?
I was wondering, is there additional spiritual significance to a funeral held on Halloween? For the
No. It's you're dealing with someone who's left this earth or left their body, and you would do that like any other day. You don't want to put any more bearance on it. Just remember that it is one of those high energy days, and the spiritual significance is that you're supposed to be paying your respects to a person and not worrying about Halloween.
Okay.
So you're paying your respects, and as long as you stay within that particular boundary of paying your respect, there shouldn't be any other significance that takes precedence over this person's life or this person's death or their even spiritual life. Okay, so
is it still considered a holy day?
Well, yeah. I mean, every day is a holy day. Every day that you're alive should be considered as a holy day. But if you're talking about a holiday, pagan holiday, and you yourself do have that potential to jump into the pagan and Wiccan-ish, it should be respected as that day always. You don't change something just because of an event.
Okay.
Okay. I hope that helps you.
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Well, you have a good day, okay? Thanks for calling in.
All right.
Night-night. All right. Now we have some other questions. What do you got for me?
This is from Vanessa. She sent in this question throughout the week. She says, my question is not for me, but it is for my boyfriend. He has been acting a little different lately, and it's only been very recently this has started happening. Maybe a week ago it started. I asked him why he has been acting different, like more in an aggressive way, saying things, doing things he wouldn't usually do. He didn't want to tell me why because he was scared I wouldn't believe him, but I did. He finally told me that he thinks he is possessed. I'm not sure that he is not. I'm most sure that he is not. The reason he thinks this, though, is that he has been having nightmares this past week. Every night, he says. In his nightmares, he sees a dark figure hovering over him, and all he sees is a dark figure, no face whatsoever. Last night, he said he felt like it was choking him. He could not breathe, and he is too scared to tell people about it because he thinks no one will believe him. He is really into the paranormal, and his age is 15. Maybe that might help to answer my question as to what this is and what he can do to stop it, and also why he is having these dreams. I decided to look up dark figures in dreams, and I happened to fall upon this website, asktheunicorn.com, and I read some stories of other people, and a lot of it sounded like some of the stuff that is happening to him. I am scared for him, and I'm hoping you have an answer to this. Please help. Thank you, Vanessa.
Okay, Vanessa, I have to answer your question kind of two-part. First off, you're a little young to have a boyfriend, but okay. Now, the second part is your boyfriend is not possessed, okay? He doesn't know what's happening to him. He doesn't know what's going on. He's under an attack, definitely. And what he should do is have sit and talk with someone. If there's someone in your area that deals with the metaphysical that he can speak to, or he can even talk to me. He can call and speak to me, and I can help him out. I do appreciate your asking that particular question because it helps me to clarify a lot of things. As I said earlier, a lot of people, the first thing they do is jump to possession when there are other types of psychic attack. One of them science calls sleep paralysis, where he couldn't get the entity off of him, and he saw that dark entity. Remember, there's so many different types of creatures that inhabit this earth, and just because you don't see them all the time does not mean that they don't exist. This person is obviously under some form of duress, which attracted a psychic attack, or even if someone is thinking dark thoughts towards this person, or they have done something to cause this person so much duress that he would be attacked. At this point, you call someone like myself, like you did, ask your questions, but then see if you can get him to go in and see someone. Okay, going to a psychologist may help, or a psychiatrist, whatever they call those things, psychotherapist, that may help, but I think that it would exacerbate the problem. I think that you need to go find someone that does spiritual counseling or someone that can help him with the problem, like a psychic policeman like myself. There are other people that are very good at their job wherever you are. If you're here, I'll be more than happy to set up an appointment with you to help him understand what's going on with him and teach him how to defend against it. These particular energies that he's dealing with are quite prevalent lately because of some of the things that people have done. I'm not going to get into all of the things that we have done as human beings to cause the curtains to thin themselves out. But what I will say is that it doesn't surprise me that a young man would be going through a psychic attack the way that they are. Okay, so one of the things that you can do is sleep with a white candle. Make sure that have him have a white candle lit or a night light, something that is LED light. That seems to help. Why? Because it simulates daylight. It's the oddest thing. It does cut down on astral emanation. If he has that LED light, night light, it will cut down the astral emanation, and he may be able to gain some control over himself. If he's having these dreams every night, then I suggest that you do take him in to see someone, or have him come in. Of course, if he's around your age, you'll need your parents' consent, and that's where it gets a little iffy, because most parents don't really understand what's going on with your teenagers, especially when you're having an experience like this, which is kind of what the entity depends on. So maybe he can explain it in such a way that it does come across to make some sense. And once he does get to see someone, if you're abroad somewhere, hopefully they will help you. If you can't find anyone where you are and I'm in your area, then maybe you can make an appointment with me, but you'll have to have your parent accompany you. Okay, and that's just the way that it is. I'm sorry, it doesn't have to do with me not wanting to see someone that is as young as you are, but it does have to do with my protecting myself. Remember, I always operate in common sense. But if you start with a nightlight and then listen to some of the programs that I am doing and some of my videos, I will actually give you some instruction as to how to deal with things. So keep tuning in. As long as you tune in, I'll help you. Also, you might subscribe to this particular radio show. You'll check out the website. That's www.unicorn-cove.com. And find out what's going on with us, okay? And I'll be teaching some things from time to time, mostly all the time. But on this particular show, I'll be giving you some instructions, so pay attention, okay? What else? I hope that helps you out. What else do we have here?
This one is sent in. This one is sent in by Mary. She says, I lost my mother on Thanksgiving to cancer. It hasn't been a year yet. Since she has started to get sick, I had been having trouble sleeping. Either I wouldn't sleep at all, or I sleep too much and have a hard time waking up. Sometimes I dream about the house she used to live in with my stepfather, and it's so real that I can touch an object and feel its texture or temperature. It's very hard to wake up from these dreams, and I often find I can't move when I wake up from them and have to kind of slowly shake myself awake by moving a toe or trying to rock back and forth slightly. The dreams have become more bizarre recently, and upon waking, I am often afraid and disoriented, not knowing where I am. I am worried that I sometimes stop breathing when I sleep so deeply. I have no history of sleep apnea or breathing problems. Is there a way to keep from falling into such deep dreams?
Part of your problem is you're still attached. But you're attached on a very psychic and emotional level. We have to find a way to make you let go. It doesn't mean let go of the memory completely or let go of how you feel. It means to not be so attached, which means that you're probably still holding on to a lot of the physical objects that were this person's. You have to be willing to let them go to a degree, unless you like this attachment. You obviously don't. As far as your sleeping patterns and your patterns that your dreaming patterns that you're having, a lot of that is an astral experience. What this means is that you're going into the astral level because of your attachments. What you might want to do is go through all of your things and change them. You have to keep your room changed. If you change the position of things in your room, you won't be able to settle on the same thought pattern. Maybe change the position of your bed. Maybe get rid of certain things that are, particularly things like a mirror that that belong to this person, and you have pictures on the mirror. You have to wake up. In other words, you have to wake up from being so attached to this person. I mean, you remember everything in detail. I mean, it's been almost a year, and I understand that you're still in mourning, and you have to be willing to accept the fact that you're still grieving, but you have to be willing to let go of the attachment. I'm going to say this to you. Part of your problem is that you sound like you're depressed. And depression can be a very powerful drug that will land you in the astral realm. So if you're seeing a counselor, you might want to tell your counselor about your dreams. If you're not seeing one, I suggest that you do, to help you get through your emotionalism or your grieving properties. As you said, you have no problems with sleep apnea or anything like that. So it's not a physical problem. This deals with your emotional and your psychic problem. As far as your psychism goes, there are some exercises that will keep you from going so deep into things. If you sleep with a nightlight like the last person or a candle, just make sure that it's very, very safe. The actual light from the candle will keep you from going too deep into a sleep pattern. And it will be sort of like a beacon, because I think that part of your dream is very lucid and you know that you are dreaming, or you know you are in experience, and this will help you from a lot. It will stop you from the lucidity taking over. Okay? So you might want to consider some of those methods. Again, one of the things that I might suggest for you to do is to call in separate from this radio show and maybe set up an appointment with myself or set up an appointment with another expert. You can set up an appointment through the Unicorn Cove site. That is www.unicorn-cove.com, or you can dial our land number. That would be area code 207-347-5686. That's 207-347-5686, and we can set up an appointment, and I'll have a chat with you and see if I can get you through these things. But that's very good, and I know I can help you. Thank you.
All right, this next question is sent in from Corey. I need an expert's advice. I've been waking up to something standing over me. I can't see it, but I can feel it, and it's not good. It makes me freeze up to where I can't move. It's like it stands there and watches me sleep. Everyone thinks I'm crazy, but I know in my gut that there is something there. It's not every night, just once every few weeks, but I get a strong negative feeling, sometimes in the house.
Okay, this is what I've been talking about. I spoke about this earlier when I said that, science likes to play it down and call it something that is called sleep paralysis, but this is actual a visitation or an attack, and these things can be very, very serious because they do alienate you. They make you alienate everyone else, and you feel rather alone. You feel as if you can't really tell anybody about it. At this particular point, if this is happening more than once, that's when you seek out a person like myself. And, I can give you some very valid steps. Like I said, you can use the candle. One of the things that whether you believe in it or not, really doesn't make a difference to me. One of the things that you can do is there's a passage in the Bible. It's actually a Psalms, and it's Psalms 91, that you can read out loud, and it will actually stick in your head. Or at least parts of it will stick in your head, and it will give you the opportunity to banish certain things. And It's the most amazing thing. Is I've used this since I was a child, and it works. You might remember that Psalms 91. You might check that out and learn how to read it out loud and learn how to actually memorize it. That does help, but that's only one step. Another step is to make sure that, one, you don't do things like sleep in the clothes that you were out and about in. Two, make sure that the people that you get food from have positive thoughts. If you eat somewhere that's negative and you know that it's negative, you may not feel it in your body, but it definitely goes to your psychism. Try not to view or be connected to material that is going to cause some type of a psychic schism. Okay, that means things that bother you and things that compromise your integrity. For instance, if you're around a bunch of people that are just negative, the best thing that you can do is just leave. Just get up and go away. Go wash yourself off and you'll be fine. That way you don't carry stuff home with you. Another thing, though, and this is more on the mystical end of things, make sure that for everything that is given to you, you give something back. Okay? And make sure that you don't take anything from a person that isn't willing to receive something back. Okay? You can give them anything, just as long as you give them something. Like for some of my classes, it used to be when I first started, I've had to change things since, because it was just common sense. One of the things that I used to do, if people said that they didn't have any money for my class, I would ask them for something. That way, we have a equal trade. That way, there's no unfinished business between us. You see, there's a universal law that says that for everything that is given, something must be given in return. And whether you like that law or not, it is just the universal law. And a lot of times there are people that know this universal law and will use it to their benefit. They will try to give you things and not take something back. That way, what the universe does is it decides for you. And that's the last thing that you want to happen. Because sometimes when the universe uses that particular trade, it's not the best thing. For instance, someone gives you a gift, and then they don't want to take something back in return. My method is just to not accept the gift, whether it offends them or not. But if they are willing to accept something, then our contract is finished. Every time you receive something from someone, that is indeed a contract, whether you see it that way or not. Even if you gave the person a scrap of paper in this physical dimension, it cancels everything out. And there are some people that will actually have have themselves give you something and not take something back, and then decide what they can take from you. Those are people who are well versed in mysticism. There are also some people that will take something from you and not give something back in order for you to take something from them, and they can decide what it is that you will take from them. And sometimes it may be their negativity or it may be their sickness. You have to look out for these things. So there's some precautions. If you need training, I'll be more than happy to train you. There are other people that will also be more than happy to train you, and some of them may be even past students of myself. I've trained many, and there's help all over the place now for these particular things. So don't feel like you're alone. That's the last thing I want you to do. Do not feel alone. Do not feel that there's no one that you can talk to. I don't want you feeling that way. There's always someone that you can speak to, and there's always someone that will listen. It may not be the people that you want at that particular moment. They may not be there, but you can always call someone. So just to let you know that, and I hope that helps you out. Okay, what else do we have here?
We have one final question about holy water, and this is from Felicia. She asks, you mentioned holy water. You don't strike me as a conventional religion person.
Nor am I. No, I'm not.
Do you make holy water, or do you get it from a church? I
make holy water, and I follow certain rules. I make the holy water based upon what I think is needed, and I have my own set of prayers. No, I'm not a conventionalist. However, convention does have its place. It depends on what it is that you are doing. Remember, most of the things that were taken by the conventional church were learned from mystics, and were also learned by people that would be called what they like to call witch, particularly in the Catholic Church. And I'm sure that Catholicism would raise their hand and say, no, but it's the truth. Many of the rituals were taken from mystics and from mysticism. So the idea even of holy water was probably taken just as well. Remember, the universe is the universe, and God is God, and Goddess is Goddess, and they don't have to come through a particular church in order to be holy. So you must always remember that particular thing. And we do make holy water here, and my holy water is actually prayed over and blessed by people who are well versed in prayer, and myself. I have prayer warriors that do a lot of the candle making and incense making and holy water making, and I've trained several people that have the ability to make holy water. It is a very specific practice, a very precious practice, and water is holy to begin with, and all you're really doing is just giving it the charge to do a specific job. Remember, water supports life and is therefore alive. That makes it holy. Okay. All right. So we've had some good questions this evening. It's about time for me to wind down the show. I hope you all have a wonderful Halloween. For those of you that would like to make donations so that I can continue doing this, because I really would like to, remember, they go towards, they're not for me to go and, spend up. They go towards me doing the show and running my operation. They can be made using the donations button on the front page of our Ask the Unicorn website at www.asktheunicorn.com. Once again, that's www.asktheunicorn.com. Okay? And we really would appreciate your donations. All right. Oh, one more thing, and I announced this at the beginning of the show. This coming Saturday night, I'm going to be a featured guest on Outside the Box with Alex Ansari. We will be discussing psychic self-defense and talking about what I do. Okay, this is a 2-hour show, and I'm sure you'll all enjoy it. It happens at 8 p.m. Central or 9 p.m. Eastern Time. And we'll be taking callers on the air, so tune in. Make sure that you do. This is American Freedom Radio. Okay, that's www.americanfreedomradio.com. And that is this Saturday. I hope you all enjoyed the show. I always enjoy the show. And as you all can see, I seem to be getting a little bit better at it. And I hope I get a lot better at it. I will talk to you all next week. I am Ahura Z for Ask the Unicorn. This is Kazi. Say good night, Kazi.
Good night.
And we'll see you all, or hear you all, next week.
You've been listening to Ask the Unicorn, live with Ahura Z. DeLisa. If you have a personal matter you need help with, Ahura offers private telepathic readings and telepathic spiritual counseling by phone and Skype. Ahura also teaches private classes in an array of subjects online using Skype video. You can learn more by visiting our website at www.asktheunicorn.com, where you can also hear archived episodes of our show and subscribe to our blog. If you have a question for Ahura to answer on a future episode of Ask the Unicorn, you can contact us via our website or email it to questions@asktheunicorn.com, and we'll add it to the list for our next show. Ask the Unicorn broadcasts live every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. U.S. Eastern Standard Time on Blog Talk Radio. That's blogtalkradio.com/Ask the Unicorn.
Do you do when you don't know? Just go and ask for do-de-o-do. Ahura Z will journey with you to all the places on the go. What do you do when you don't know? Just go and ask for do-de-o-do. Ahura Z will journey with you to all the places others won't go.